here for your family reunion? Representing the family on stage is Cliff Stratton, great-great-grandson of Sam and Atanasia Hughes. Cliff, we're very pleased that you have your family here as we unveil a newly commissioned portrait of Sam Hughes, painted by Carol Corvo, which we are very, very proud to say is a TUSD Fine Arts Resource Teacher. And Carol is sitting right here, and I'd like to recognize her efforts. And Dr. Marybelle Porkel was also instrumental in helping us restore these portraits that had been destroyed one way or the other. Nobody was quite sure how. But we've got them back, and this will be displayed in our foyer and will greet us every day when we come to school. Now, Cliff, would you give us a snapshot history of the lives of Atanasia and Sam Hughes?
No, let's go to my mom.
Tell you this, I'm just a little bit better looking than he was. My name is Cliff Stratton. I'm from Reno, and I'm the second great grandson of Sam and Atanasia. We want to recognize all the family that's here again, and I want you to learn a little bit of Welsh tonight. I spent a couple of years in Wales, and every day when Sam woke up, what he said to his family was good morning in Welsh. How many of you know good morning in Welsh? This means yes. Nobody? Okay, let me tell you. It's Bore da Sadaki Heidiu. Everybody say it with me. Bore da Sadaki Heidiu. Okay, now turn to your neighbor and make it sound convincing. Bore da Sadaki Heidiu. That's good morning in Welsh. Okay? Let me tell you a little bit about Sam Hughes. I wrote down a couple of family stories here that you might enjoy. Sam Hughes was a very strong proponent of education throughout his entire life. At the age of 24, he found himself in Jacksonville, Oregon, and he helped build the first public school there. Then he moved that same year to Eureka, California, and as soon as he got there, he began working on their school. When he moved to Tucson, Father Onato had started a Catholic church with the school, and before it was completed, Sam had not only physically worked on the building, but he had donated over $500 to the enterprise. 75 years ago, at the original dedication of this school right here, the main speaker was Mrs. Kitt, and she summarized Sam's interest in education. I like to quote her, because Atanasia was sitting right here with her at that time, Sam's wife. One of our early schools was down at Laban's Park. Here, according to the wife of Atanasia Hughes, Mr. Hughes rented a room and paid the teacher for 3 months. So that was the first school in Tucson, was a rented hall for 3 months. Then the public schools came into being when Mr. Hughes built 2 rooms on Court Street right next to the old city hall and rented them to the county. So he bought the land, built the building, and rented 2 rooms to the county for the children to go to school. Next came the first school building of Tucson, and built for that purpose, and that was the old Congress Street School. By the way, I have some pictures of some of these. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, you're all welcome to join the family at the Arizona Historical Society. They have set up a special Sam and Atanasia Hughes display, and there's some really neat stuff in there. There's a pair of, when Sam and Atanasia went on their honeymoon in 1865 to San Francisco. They arrived in San Francisco on the 4th of July, and Atanasia, coming from Tucson, had never seen fireworks. In fact, she'd never left Tucson. And so here she was, about 16 years old, and when she got to San Francisco, everybody was riding up and down the streets on their horses and shooting their guns, and fireworks were going off that night. Atanasia said that she thought that the Anglo world was a whole spaced out world compared to the world that she lived in here in Tucson. So tomorrow at 10, we're going to meet down at the Historical Society, and you're all welcome to come. Then at 11, I have a little slideshow and I will show you a picture of this old Congress Street School, what it looked like. And that'll take about an hour to an hour and a half. It's right there at the museum. You're all welcome to come. And if you want to eat for $6, if you get a hold of Teresa or my sister Megs, they're both out there. Wave your hand. Megs, where's Teresa? So there's Megs and there's Teresa over there. If you want to eat lunch, you're welcome to come and eat lunch. And that's $6. But you got to pay for it tonight so we know how many people to feed tomorrow. Okay? Or else you can bring your own from Burger King, whatever. We'd love to have you come tomorrow. So I will show you a picture of this old Congress Street School tomorrow, if you would like to come to our little slideshow. Mr. Hughes also had much to do with the raising of money by subscriptions and donations. You just heard Roseanne ask you for money. Well, Sam was asking for money 130 years ago for the same thing. And so I hope we can help there too. Mrs. Hughes said that she would hate to estimate the money and time her husband put in on building schools. We can judge by the zeal that she had for education that it was no small sum. Because he was a friend of Governor Safford, he undertook the superintendent of the building of the Safford School. You all know that, where the Safford School is. And worked much when he was, and worried much when he was sick for a few days and could not look after the building of the school. Mrs. Hughes tells a very delightful story of how the whole of the Hughes family and the whole of the Safford family got into a hayrack and went out to the breaking of the ground for the University of Arizona, some 6 months before the actual work was begun. And Sam said, "Now comes the pride of my life, the public schools." He spent from the age of 24 until the day he died building public schools. So it's very appropriate that we have a school named after Uncle Sammy, was what he liked to be called by his friends, Uncle Sammy Hughes. Sam Hughes was a man of great integrity. Let me tell you a little story. When he was 11 years old, the age of some of the students that we just saw up here dancing tonight, there was death and hardship in his father's family, so Sam and his younger brother thought it necessary to go out on their own. He had been in America for 3 years, so he did not speak English. You all just spoke some Welsh. And he found speaking English very difficult. He and his brother Will finally were able to find jobs in the spinning department of Blackstock's cotton factory in Allegheny City, Pennsylvania. And they worked, the two brothers worked for $1.25 a week. Their combined expenditures amounted to $1.75 for board and 10 cents for washing. And so with Will's 75 cents a week that his little brother made, they had 15 cents a week to splurge on. And Sam was 11 and Will was 9 when they started out on their own. But you also want to remember that when Adonasha married Sam, she wasn't even 12 years old yet. So in those days, we did marry a little bit younger than we do now. Your mothers out there are all going, I'm not sure about that. But they did marry quite young in those days. Okay, then a very devastating thing happened to Sam. While he was working in this factory, the belt had been cut on the machine that he was working on, and he was accused of doing it. And because he didn't speak very good English, he was dismissed. And that was his livelihood. His little brother made 75 cents a week, so he had to have the money. A girl in the adjoining factory knew that he was falsely accused. Several girls in her establishment had cut it for mischief. Her integrity to stand up for the truth in the face of derision by her peer group deeply touched Sam. A $40 reward was offered for anyone who would bring forth the culprit, but she refused the reward. 40 years later, Sam went back to the old place and learned that this woman was now in destitute circumstances. Excuse me. Sam quietly found the woman, paid her the $40 with interest, which then amounted to $460. So Virtua Link had its reward. And he, of course, walked across the plains, and throughout his life, let me tell you a bit about here in Tucson. Sam was always a friend to the poor. He always tried to find ways to help those less fortunate than himself to make a start. Sam encouraged many of the young people in Tucson to stay in Tucson and to go into business rather than to leave for the big city. He frequently gave them the money to start their business. When they showed maturity and responsibility and began to pay him back, he would quietly forgive the entire loan, asking them to put his payments back into their business so both they and Tucson would prosper. And one more little story. I just want to close with a poem, if I could, by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To the family, this kind of epitomizes Sam Hughes. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty and find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, that is to have succeeded. That was Sam Hughes. Thanks.
Not only does the school have a distinguished namesake, but it has been blessed with a history of dedicated leaders and staff members. Elbert Gump served Sam Hughes as its principal, leading our children from 1947 to 1961. He began his career in education in the Little Red Schoolhouse in Iowa. Upon arrival in Tucson, he taught at University Heights, Mansfield, and Carrillo, becoming principal at Carrillo as well. He was tough, but always fair, and he handled problems with humor and understanding. He had a knack for forging compromise and diffusing problems. Former District Superintendent Robert Morrow wrote of Elbert Gump, "He was so great in so many ways. His love of people, especially children, the pride and honor he brought to his profession, his abiding friendship, his loyalty to those he loved and respected, made him a man among men." Would the family members of Principal Gump please stand so we can recognize you? Representing the Gump family on stage is Mary Louise Roberson, and she's the daughter of Mr. Gump. And we are very pleased, Mary Louise, to present this portrait of Elbert A. Gump, also painted by Carol Corvo, which will also reside in our lobby. And Mary Louise, you have a couple comments?
It is so exciting to have Dad's picture in a school again. For those of you who don't know, there was a Gump school for a few years, well, for actually 25 years, over on Pima and Saguaro. It was the Gump School for the educable retarded children, because my dad started the first class for challenged boys at Carrillo School back in the early 40s. I am an alumnus of
his personal history and the history of his people. And part of that hard-bittenness comes out
into San Jose, and whether San Jose is a little bit out away from town in a slightly different visita or place, I'm not real sure. We'll ask Mark see if he knows. But it's one of those very confusing.
Is this right for Iowa tomorrow?
Yes, it is.
Leave it set up?
Yeah, no, what we're going to do. My name is Tom Peterson, and I'm the director of the Southern Arizona Division of the Arizona Historical Society.
And you're doing a wonderful job for us. Thank you very much.
Oh, and all I can say is that we are so delighted to have the descendants of Sam and Atanasia Hughes as our friends and guests we really are happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Along the northern frontier of New